Before you start, you need to know the rules. We've split this video into 4 difficulty levels: easy, hard, nightmare, and impossible. The vast majority of viewers are too scared to make it past easy. We want to know how far you can go. So when it's over, drop a comment and tell us which level you reached. And just so you know, a jump scare could hit at any level. Now let's begin. The load gauge. The number on the screen said 214. There wasn't supposed to be another living soul on that train but me. It was past 2 in the morning, one of the last southbound runs on the red line, and all 6 cars behind me were empty. That's what I knew. But the little load gauge above my cab was reading a weight of 214 people. Like every car was packed shoulder to shoulder. I need to back up a little for this to make sense. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I've been a motorman for the Chicago Transit Authority for 11 years, which means I'm the one driving the trains. People don't take the job seriously. What's the big deal? You push a button, the train goes. Spend 11 years alone in the same tunnels and you'll understand what pushing that button actually means. Underground, inside miles of concrete pipe. Nothing in front of you but the rails your headlights catch and let go of. You get used to it. I had. That night was my last run down into the State Street subway, the long underground stretch beneath downtown. I was heading south from Howard toward 95th, dead of winter, January. It was about 5 below outside, so there's usually a few people on the train riding it for the heat. Homeless folks, people coming off a night shift. But that night, it was strangely empty. When Chicago gets the wind off Lake Michigan, and it keeps everybody home, the whole city goes quiet all at once. It was one of those nights. The start of that shift is boring. The radio crackles in the cab, the dispatcher checks in now and then. I answer. I had a thermos my wife had filled, coffee. At every station, I'd open the doors, wait 30 seconds, even if nobody got on. That's the rule. When I pulled into Fullerton, I noticed the number on the gauge for the first time, but I didn't think anything of it. It said 6. I didn't even wonder why a gauge would read anything but 0 for 6 passengers. Maybe a couple of people got on somewhere, I figured. You can't see straight back from the cab, but I've got these little black and white monitors in front of me, one for the inside of each car. 6 of them, for 6 cars. I didn't look at all of them right then. I sipped my coffee. The train dove back into the tunnel. Anybody who's driven a train through those tunnels in Chicago knows the pipes have a sound all their own. The wheels make this howl on the rail that you'll hear in your dreams 10 years later. That night, the first wrong thing came through the sound. Coming up on North Clybourne, I heard something else underneath the noise of the train, coming from behind me, human voices, a collective murmur. You know that low, blurry hum people make when they're all talking to each other? The sound of a crowded car. I turned around and looked through the rear window of the cab into the first car. Empty. Orange seats lined up under the yellow light, all of them empty. I reached for the radio and asked the dispatcher, Central, is there another train on my line close by? The answer came back, negative. You're the only one in the tunnel. So what was that sound? Ventilation, I told myself. Air pressure does strange things in the old tunnels. I made myself believe it. I wanted to believe it. At North Clybourne, I opened the doors. The platform was empty. Nobody got on, nobody got off, because there wasn't anybody there to begin with. I closed the doors, and right as they were closing, I looked at the monitor. The gauge didn't say 6 anymore. It said 38. That feeling is hard to describe. I wasn't scared right away. You learn in your first years on the job that equipment breaks, sensors lie. The load gauge is glitching, I told myself. Moisture got in it. But something small shifted inside me because the number wasn't a round, obviously broken number. 38. Like there really were people, 38 of them, sitting in those empty seats. Clark and Division. Doors open, empty platform, doors closed. Monitors, 6 cars, 6 empty boxes. But the gauge read 71. The number getting on at each station was more than the one before, 6, then 38, then 71. There was nobody on the platforms. Nobody was getting on, but the train kept getting heavier. I couldn't explain that with a sensor anymore, because I could feel it. On takeoff, the train pulled sluggish. The motor worked harder. It took a longer distance to stop under braking. Hundreds of pounds, then tons of weight, out of nowhere. For those of you who don't know Chicago, there's Grand, then Lake, then the famous Jackson Station. All of them are way down deep at the lowest point of the State Street subway. There's no signal down there anyway. I checked my phone, not a single bar, just the dispatcher radio. I keyed the radio again. My voice was shaking, and I was trying not to give myself away. Central, I've got a problem with my load gauge, and there's a sound coming from the rear cars. Can you check the cameras? There was a long silence. Then the dispatcher in a calm, bored voice. Ethan, I'm looking at train's cameras right now. All 6 cars are empty. There's nobody in the feed. But the gauge says 100 people, I said. Then your gauge is broken. Write it up for maintenance in the morning. Stay on your line. Stay on your line. Like I had another choice. I was inside a train doing 40 miles an hour in the middle of a tunnel. I couldn't just stop and get out. There was no direction but forward. We pulled into Jackson, and right there, just before I opened the doors, I heard the sound again. But this time it wasn't just a murmur. There were footsteps, hundreds of feet, all at once, hitting the floor in the same rhythm. The sound of a crowd standing, holding on, swaying in a car. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to, because out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement in the glass of the first car. I turned. The first car was still empty. But behind the glass door that opens into the second car at the end of the aisle, there was something. Human height, but a little too tall. Hunched forward, like the ceiling was too low. And it was as if the dark of the tunnel had seeped into the car around it. The light couldn't reach it. It was looking at me. I couldn't make out its face, but I knew it was looking. I blinked. It was gone. My hands had frozen on the controls. I told myself what you saw was a reflection. It was your own reflection in the glass. 11 years of exhaustion, 2 a.m, a broken sensor. Your brain's playing tricks on you, Ethan. I took a deep breath. My shoulders loosened. The radio in the cab crackled, a familiar, boring voice. Jackson departure clearance. I relaxed. I put my hand back on the controls. And right then, on the other side of my cab window, right against the glass, a face appeared, pressed flat against the glass, eyes wide open, mouth frozen in the shape of a scream, underground on the outside window of a moving train, not standing on anything anywhere. 1 second, maybe less. Then the dark of the tunnel swallowed it, and the train kept going. I screamed. I scared myself with my own voice, alone in the cab with my own scream. I don't remember exactly what order things happened, and after that, my hands were shaking, but I couldn't stop the train because if I stopped, I'd have to open the doors, and I did not want to open the doors. I didn't look at the gauge. I tried not to. But the last stations were coming one after another, and at each one the sound behind me was growing. It wasn't a murmur anymore. There was a bass to it, a pressure. My ears were clogged, like it wasn't the train but the crowd itself that had filled the tunnel, and the air was running out. That rhythm of footsteps from the cars was speeding up. They were getting closer, toward the cab, one by one, car by car. I ran the last 2 stations without stopping. It was a violation. I didn't care. Roosevelt, Cermak. There were people on those platforms, real people, a handful of them waiting at that hour of the night, and they raised their hands and waved at me, wondering why the train wasn't stopping. I couldn't look at them, because in my eyes there was no difference anymore between them and the ghosts on those empty platforms. I didn't know what was real anymore. When I got to Sox 35th, that part of the line comes up above ground. The lights of Chicago, that freezing 5 below night, poured in through the windows. And in that moment, everything stopped. The sound cut off, the pressure lifted, my ears cleared. I looked at the gauge. It said 0. I looked to the back of the train, 6 cars, all 6 empty. Orange seats, yellow light, a newspaper left open, an empty coffee cup somebody forgot rolling around on the floor. That was it, like nothing had happened. I got to 95th, finished the run, pulled the train into the yard. I could barely stand. I went to my supervisor and told him everything. The glitch in the load gauge, the sounds, the face in the window. He sat me down in a chair, gave me coffee, listened. Then he pulled up the maintenance log on the computer. There was no fault recorded in my train's load gauge that night. The system showed the cars had been empty the whole run, carrying 0 load. In the camera footage, all 6 cars were empty from start to finish. In the dispatcher log, there were my calls about the sounds, but Central's answer was always the same. "You're the only one in the train tunnel. There's nobody in the feed." My supervisor was very kind to me. He said it was fatigue, lack of sleep, long shifts. He gave me a few days off. He suggested I see a doctor. Maybe he was right, but here's what he doesn't know. I have never driven that line again since that night. I haven't, because I'm still not sure of one thing, and it's driving me crazy. If my supervisor is right, then nothing happened that night. I just lost my mind by myself in an empty tunnel. But if I'm right, if that number, 214, really was counting something, then I still have one question. The records say I was on an empty train. So if I was on an empty train that night, what face pressed against my cab window? Was it on my side of the glass or outside? Because glass doesn't reflect what's outside. It reflects what's inside.